So if Beanie Babies walked so that Labubu could run, what did Garbage Pail Kids give birth to? Probably just all these millennials out here eating ass all the time. Hello, Champagne Dreamers. Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome. I don't know how you found me, but hit that subscribe button and stick around. My name is Janessa, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And I am here today for another Get Ratchet with me. I'm very excited. We are going to get a little messy. We're going to get a little bit gross. We're going to create what I'm calling my Garbage Pail Kids look. So if you're excited to see what that's all about, you may have seen from the title, but if you want to know more, then stick around because we're getting into it right now.
It won't go away. I've got that feeling rushing through my body. I know that it is here to stay. It's like you're my personal Illuminati. I know that some might say that I am just a bad girl, but if you treat me right, I will be the best girl in this whole world. No, I'm not gonna bite. I got my hands on your body.
That's right. We are getting gross. We're getting creepy. We are doing a Garbage Pail Kids influenced kind of look. And what I mean by that is you may remember that a rapper named SexyyRed put out some glosses. These glosses, these are the SexyyGlosses, and they feature such glamorous names as Booty Hole Brown, Pussy Hole Pink, Yellow Discharge, and the green one, my favorite, Gonorrhea. Now, I saw those and I love a weird makeup release. I love weird products. I don't mind things with questionable names, but I was like, what am I going to do? Glosses are never like the focal point of my look. I'm eyeshadow palettes. So I was like, I could get them and swatch them, but they're just kind of probably going to be semi-sheer glosses. So I was like, I don't really know what to do with them. Well, along came Glaminatrix and their April Fool's joke turned real palette, Tones of Turd. Now, this is their reimagining of an April Fool's joke. They put up this photoshopped, picture of the Tones of Turd, which was all of these brown, green, yellow, gold kind of shades. And people lost their minds. They were like, you have to make this. And they already had a palette in that kind of vein coming out. So they were like, you know what? Let's offer it two ways. Let's do a pre-order and let's do Tones of Turd. And then when it comes out in its full release as the grounded palette, we can have two options. So the people who want the jokey palette, the Tones of Turd, can get it first. And the people who get it a little bit later, they can choose between the Tones of Turd while it lasts. Stick a pin in that. Or the grounded palette, which to my knowledge is still available on the Glaminatrix website. And poop humor or not, who wouldn't want these beautiful green, yellow, brown shades with those red burgundy little pops of color? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Now, they did 2, maybe 3 pre-orders of this, and your girl was broke as a joke the whole time. So I missed Tones of Turd. And then I was like, well, should I do the grounded palette? And then just like pretend it's the Tones of Turd. And like I could look up the shade names. I was like, no, I want to own the Tones of Turd. This is so funny. So I have never bought anything on Mercari. Angie has picked up a couple of things that she's found for my Golden Girl collection. Definitely check out the video on the Golden Girl merch that I'll link right here for you. But I have never bought myself. So I set up a Mercari account and I went looking for this and I paid too much money. It was bonus time at work, so I was broke when it was available on the website. Once I had a little bit of money, it was already sold out, so I went on Mercari and I spent too much money on this. So I ended up having to pay not No, it might be double. It might be double what it was on the side. I can't remember the numbers exactly, and I don't want to remember. I'm in a fugue state about it. I don't need to recall. It's trauma. I'll deal with it in therapy later. But I did buy this at a premium, but I was like, I have to have the tones of Turd. I have so many weird makeup releases, and I had those sexy red glosses. So I was like, you know what? Let's do a garbage pail look. So we're going to try to find some other things in my collection that are maybe questionably named. So let's get into this Get Ratchet with Me Garbage Pail Kids edition featuring tones of Turd and the sexy red sexy glosses. Let's get started now. Potato face coming your way. Oh, she's a pasty woman. Hello, everybody. Yes, this is my face, and I'm very excited to tell you what's on my face. To get started, I used a little bit of the Skindinavia priming spray and then some of the Makeup Revolution, I Heart Revolution Strawberry Whip Primer. Then for foundation, we used the Beauty Say What foundation. I love this, still a favorite. I know they're going through it. I don't know what's going to happen with the brand, but I love it. And this one, I've got like 3 backups in my collection. Absolutely love this. And then, of course, as I've been wont to do lately, I added the Urban Decay Face Bond Luminizer in Silver Lake. I've really been loving this. I love the finish, and I think it pairs really well. I think this is my first time pairing it with the and I am really liking how this face is looking. For concealer, I went ahead and used the L'Oreal Infallible Concealer. I really like this. This is a fun concealer. I never get too hyped about any concealer, but this one has been really good. And I contoured with a little bit of the NYX Buttermelt Bronzer. This has been a favorite. We're doing a filming day. I wanted it to be a little bit subtle. We're going to see what we do with the cheeks. That's kind of up in the air, as we'll talk about a little bit later. And then I primed the eyes with the Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden, another perennial favorite. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm rushing. I have 2 live streams today. I don't know what I was thinking. I am going to be coloring with Allison Retro Toy Princess over on her channel, and then I'm going to be doing part 2 of my declutter over here on my channel. Obviously, by the time this video comes out, those will have long happened, so I will make sure that they are linked down in the description box below. But if I seem like I'm rushing, that's why, because I got to get ready for that coloring live stream. All right, so we are here to create this Garbage Pail Kids inspired look. This was all inspired by this gorgeous palette. This is the Tones of Turd palette from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. I always love an excuse to do a green moment. There's some fun colors in here. We're going to see what we come up with this. And as I was going through my collection, since I've been in the middle of this declutter, I actually found another palette that I think might be really interesting and also really kind of within the theme. This is from Likely Makeup, and this is the Ugly palette. Ugly, Garbage Pail Kids, what could be better? So we may add a little bit of this in, just to brighten things up, bring some extra color, and because we're using greens and browns, we obviously, if we do use this palette, we have to use this shade. This is the shade Ugliest, and this is based on, I don't know what the origin is, but apparently Pantone says that this is the ugliest shade in the world, and so they have created this palette around this ugly shade and brought in these beautiful support shades, so we may bring a little bit of this in as well. And of course, for the lips, we have the infamous SexyyGloss from Sexy Red. These with all of those crazy names. We've got Booty Hole Brown and Pussy Hole Pink. I'm so glad I'm not monetized because it would be gone in an instant. Because of this palette, I think I'm going to use Gonorrhea, the green shade. And I've got some new liners from Singe Beauty that I think might pair nicely. So we're going to play around with those. And speaking of Singe Beauty, I'm going to be trying to do this look with just Singe Beauty brushes. I hope there are a few Artitude Cosmetics brushes in here. I'll try not to grab those, but sometimes I'm just in a rush and I'm going. But I'm going to be trying to do this whole look with my Singe Beauty brushes collection. I have a whole lot of them here. They are beautiful and lovely. They are all freshly washed, and I'm very excited to play around with these as well. All right, so here is the Tones of Turd palette from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. We are going to do a yellowy green into some brown. All right, so I think what I'm going to do, and we might bring in the Ugly palette for like an inner corner pop. we'll see how that goes. But I'm really feeling inspired by the yellow into green into brown. I was very tempted by these kind of red shades, but I think I want to keep it very swamp witch, very grungy. And so we're going to start with baby poop, and then we're going to go into runny honey to kind of set up the shape. Then we're going to go into log jam, and then at the end, once we have the shimmers on, we'll probably darken the outer corner with skid mark, this darkest brown here. And for shimmers, I definitely want to play with triple flush and turtle heading, and then we might use a little bit of corny surprise, this kind of gold, bronzy, greenish, bluish, very like dimensional shimmer. I might use that to blend these lighter shimmers when we get over to like the darker part of the eye look. So I think that's what we're going to do. That's the plan. Let me grab a Singe brush and get started. All right, I've got an EO6 and I'm going into baby poop. All right, so there we have that yellow, very arched. We love that. Now we're going to go into runny honey. I've got a different EO6 so that I can keep these brushes in case I want to keep blending. I usually just use a color switch and keep reusing the same brush, but this time, since I've got a bunch of fresh brushes, we're going to switch it up. So there are the first two shades applied. Now we're going to go ahead and go into log jam. I want to be a little bit more precise with this application. So now I'm moving to an EO5, which is still a little bit diffused, a little bit fluffy, but it's a little bit smaller, so I can be a little bit more precise. Right, there we go. So there is the initial three shades, the mattes. It's not obviously the same from side to side, but we're going to start adding in those shimmers. We're going to do blendy blend all over the place. And so, yeah, I'm liking the way this is looking. So it's kind of blown out on camera, but I'm going to go into triple flush, which is this yellowy green, and I'm going to use that on the inner part, and then we're going to go into turtle heading, this greenish shimmer, and we're going to put those across the eyelid and kind of put them along. I'm going to use a paddle brush. This is the Singe E09. And I'm not going to put any concealer or anything, but I'm going to try to create kind of a faux cut crease underneath these mattes and then kind of diffuse it as we get into the darker matte. This is very flaky. I may have to spray this. We're going to try it without first just to see how it lays down. But this may have to be sprayed. I don't want to have to finger bang eyeshadow on if I don't have to, but we'll see how it goes. That's pretty, but it's going to take a long time, and I don't really have a long time, so we'll probably have to finger these on. Oh, now that's pretty. Yeah, these are very similar to like the flakier shimmers in like Bella Beauté bar, where they sometimes struggle a little bit with the brush. Now, Singe brushes, I do like them for shimmers, and I think that for a lot of shimmer formulations, they work really well. But for this more flakier shimmer, it is a little bit better with a finger. That's what she said. I'm so sorry that I did that to you. I don't really love finger application because it's harder to get it placed in the place that you want it. I'm going to try to kind of clean this up a little bit with a brush, but the finger application does make it look really beautiful. All right, so a little bit of setting spray definitely helped that. I'm going to go into turtle heading this green shimmer, and I'm going to build that into the edge of the yellow, into the edge of the brown. All right, now that color, I've tried something different with my lights. I think this is still kind of blown out. I don't feel that that green really looks that much different than the yellow, but what makes it different is that it's got kind of a peachy orange color, not that it's got more green. I feel like the base looks very similar to the yellow, but then it adds this like peachy orange kind of element to the color. So we are going to press on. We are going to add Corny Surprise. And then I'm going to see if there's a way that I can punch up the green because I want to use that gonorrhea gloss. Who thought I'd ever say that in my lifetime? And so I want to punch up that green if I can. So we may have to bring in the ugly palette. All right, so Corny Surprise is actually bringing in a little bit more of that green that I wanted. I really like the way those are all blending together. I'm going to take this little fluffy EO2 brush from Singe, and I'm going to take this green Satin Shimmer Meld Drop from the Ugly palette, and I'm going to run that just kind of right along the edge of these more dimensional shimmers and where the mattes are, just to see if that helps blend them a little bit and brings a little bit more green to the look. I think that there are some green tones, some green shifts, but I want a little bit more like green. All right, I really like that. That does bring just a little bit more of that green in. I am such a fan. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, let's add some shimmer to the lower lash line. I think we're going to go ahead and use Mel Drop, and I'll see if I want to tap any of those more dimensional shimmers on top. But I think I'm going to use this Mel Drop shade all across up until it meets up to the brown, like from the inner corner, and just do that one kind of solid color so that we really get some green grounding to this look. That is pretty, but we can always use a little bit more shimmer. All right, and I'm gonna go into turtle heading to get a little bit of that green mixed with the kind of peach. And I'm gonna put that on the kind of middle towards the brown. And this is an Artitude brush. I'm so sorry, Angelica Nyqvist from Sweden. This was just in the collection, and this is the shape that I was really looking for, this kind of very small paddle brush. I want this to be a little bit more diffused. That's why I used the same brush that I used up here for that green shimmer from the Ugly palette, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use this little Artitude brush. This will probably be the only one. There we go. I had a little bit of fallout on this side, and I was like, you know what? Let's just make it a little bit messy and diffused rather than try to wipe that away because it was the flaky stuff that when you try to wipe it, it tends to leave color anyway. And I was like, you know what? We can have a little kind of maybe teary-eyed diffusion here. I kind of like that. All right, I am armed with an EO4, and now I'm going to go into this shade Skid Mark, and we're going to darken the outer corner. That Logjam shade ended up much darker than I expected, but we're still going to darken a little bit with this and kind of go over the edge of those shimmers just to make sure that everything is kind of blending together nicely. Right, I said I was going to avoid those reds, but looking at the way that this green shade Turtle Heading has a little bit of like a peachy orange, I think what I'm going to do, this is the shade Plugged Up, which looks very red in the pan, but it also has some like coppery flashes. I'm going to just ever so lightly tap that right on, just a little bit right on the border of where that dark shade is next to Corny Surprise. And I think we're going to get just a little bit of dimension that I hope is going to be really beautiful. Right, yes, I am really liking that. I think that turned out very cool. I think that it really just kind of blends. And then I took the other side of the brush and I put a little bit more of Skid Mark just to kind of meld them together a little bit more. Now we're gonna do some mascara and lashes, but first we need to do a little inner corner pop. I think I'm actually gonna use this yellow shimmer shade from the Ugly palette called Luxe. I think that this will give us just a little yellow brightness. I think it'll brighten up what's already there, that yellow shade. I think this is gonna be gorgeous. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. That pale yellow satin shimmer blended with that flaky yellow shimmer and just gave us that little bit of highlight. So it's all yellow, but it gives us that nice like opaque highlight right in the inner corner. All right, I'm gonna go paint on some brow shapes. I'm gonna add some mascara and some lashes, and we'll be right back. Hello, yes, here we are back again. I think these eyelashes are a little bit wonky. These are the Vixen lashes from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. Unfortunately, they're discontinued. I love them, but I'm rushing and I don't really have time to fix them, but I think they're a little bit odd. I also added a little bit more of Plugged Up, that reddish shimmer on the sides. So now let's add a little bit of shimmer to the brows, and then we can do blush and lips and get to the final look. I set my brow shape down with the Give Me Glow Heart Wet Liner in Chocolate Wasted. These I think are also discontinued, unfortunately. So that's what gives us the brow shape, and then we're going to add some shadow on top. And I actually am digging this shimmer shade Plugged Up more than I thought I would. So I think we're going to bring some of that reddish tone into the brow. And I think we're going to use this along most of the upper part of the brow. And then maybe we'll put Turtle Heading just at the front to bring in a little bit of green and a little bit of that kind of peachy orange shift that has. I think that'll be really pretty. So pretty. Oh, I love that. I love it so much. And for this, I'm just using an EO1 from Singe. I think that this is a bigger brush than I would normally use, but I actually like the way that it's laying the color down, so I'm going to keep with it. Now we're doing a little bit of Turtle Heading. All right, so then I went and blended in a little bit more of that Plugged Up shade just because sometimes with these flaky shades, trying to put them into brows, they get a little unruly. I tried to blend it with a finger. This one went too far. This one had a big chunk, and then I had to blend it, and then it was really intense. But I think we've got some nice. I mean, they're so blown out, but they're so shiny. They're so metallic. I love them. And I'm going to take a little tiny pencil brush. This is a Morphe brush. I know I'm straying from my Singe Beauties, but absolutely, this little pencil brush is exactly what I need. All right, and just so that I can say that I used all of the beautiful shimmers in this palette, this is the Singe E11. It's a little pencil brush, and I'm going to go into Dump and Dazzle, this kind of champagne shimmer. It looks to be a little bit more of a more traditional satiny shimmer. It's kind of like Plugged Up, where it's not as much of the flaky. It's more of like a metallic-y, beautiful shimmer. And I'm going to go under the brow with that, just to kind of add that shimmer in as well.
We're the last people standing, still dancing when the lights come on. The music is fading.
That's really pretty. Now, just to make sure I still have a lot of dimension between the eyebrow and the eye look, I'm going to bring in this Made by Mitchell metallic liner. I did this in a previous Get Ratchet With Me where I used like a seafoam green with the Trapped collection. You can check that video out here if you haven't seen it. I'm going to outline the bottom part of the brow with this. This is like a metallic rosy color, and I think this is going to pair really nicely with this look.
This is our favorite part. I used to feel like an outcast, but I think I'm alright after all.
And I'm not going to go up the side like I did in the previous look. I think this just adds a little bit of definition, and it's exactly what I need. All right, now for blush. I don't know that I have any really like raunchy, garbage pail appropriate named blushes. I mean, NARS has all kinds of like orgasm and deep throat and all that kind of stuff. I do have, this is Cherry Slut from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I'm on a breakup with Jeffree Star Cosmetics. There's a whole video that I've got planned, gonna talk about why. But I did have this, and it does have kind of a raunchy name, so I was like, let's do a little bit of this, just kind of at the back part of the cheek, and then I'll find some powder blush. I'll try to figure out something to kind of, I don't think I want it to be really red, but I think I want kind of like red and peach together, I think could be kind of fun.
You make me feel like I belong. You like me from me without all of the glitter, and you make me laugh just like a little kid, and all my insecurities just disappear when you're here with me. I've been a stranger to this feeling, never felt so high. Won't even care if you...
Just what I needed to set a little bit of color. Like I said, not shopping from this brand currently, and just not excited about some of the shit that he said about trans people and non-binary people. He's got a history. I'll go into it in the video. I've done a lot of research and a lot of deep diving, but I do like this little bit of red, and now I'm going to find another blush to kind of bring out some of that. I don't think this is going to be a very blush-heavy look. You know what? Since we've been using Singe Beauty brushes, why not use some Singe Beauty blush? This is Timid Tomato from their Evocative Blush line, and I'm going to go ahead and blend this in. Like I said, we're bringing it up on kind of near the temple, but it's not going to be a super blush-heavy, blush-drapey look. We're just going to add a little bit more color in, and then we're going to get to highlight. Got a Singe F01.
I come crashing down tonight. I'll let it hit me. It feels different whenever you're around. If I'm blue again tomorrow, that's alright, 'cause I'm so damn happy now.
All right, I like that. It's kind of soft. I think it'll be live stream appropriate. Let's grab some highlighter. And I've already got the sparkle from the tones of Turd all over the place, so why not use this as a highlighter? I've got an EO3 brush, and I'm going to go into Triple Flush.
When I'm at my darkest, you're always there to pick me up. I don't think that I'll tell you enough that I love you and how you light me up.
Now that's a fun base for the highlight, but these flaky shades are unpredictable. I'm going to go into that Dump and Dazzle, and I'm going to add a little bit of that champagne gold to this as well. And that's what I'm going to use in the center of the face.
Feel like an outcast, but with you I know that I belong. Like it's us against the world. You like me for me without all of the glitter, and you make me laugh just like a little kid. And all my insecurities just disappear when you're here with me. I've been a stranger to this feeling.
All right, I am liking that. Let me go ahead and grab the lip liner. This is the Singe Beauty Evocative Lip Liner in Witty Walnut, and I'm going to use this to line the lips, and then we're going to go in with that sexy red gloss. All right, so I am half blind without my glasses, and I was leaning way too far down into the mirror to see, so I just did this off camera. This is Witty Walnut. I went ahead and lined the lips and then filled them in because we're using a gloss. It's going to be pretty sheer. Now, with this lip liner, I do like it. I will say it's a little bit stiffer than I prefer. But I have a trick that I've been using since the 90s that softens it up and made it apply perfectly. That got wild. I just have a lighter and I just kind of run it near the tip, just the tip. Not for very long, just a couple of seconds, and it helps kind of loosen it up and melt the product a little bit. When I used to stay at the Motel 6 way back in the day, in the I-beam days, for those who remember, if you know, you know, I used to stay at the Motel 6 and I would actually touch it to the light bulb where I was getting ready. And so that's another trick you can use. But now that incandescent bulbs are going away, who knows if you can even do that anymore? All right, I got to get to my live stream. Let's put some of this gonorrhea gloss on from SexyyGloss by Sexy Red.
Felt so high, won't even care if you and I come crashing down tonight.
As expected, this doesn't have a ton of color to it. This is kind of pretty. I like it's very shimmery. It's nice on the lips. It's a little bit slicker, a little bit more liquidier than I prefer, but it's not bad for gonorrhea. And so I really kind of like this. Let me go ahead and add my Star Beauty mark. All right, that is the look. I'm going to go put some drag on. I actually have to run to the live stream and I will film the outro afterwards, but this is kind of the final look before we get into all the drag. We'll be right back. For you, it'll be just a few seconds. I'm going to go do the live stream and then we'll be back to film the outro in 3, 2, 1. Right, so that is the video. Here's the final look. What do we think? I think this was fun. I love a weird theme. I loved Garbage Pail Kids as a kid, and I had a ton of the stickers. I had a bunch of photo albums. Somewhere I've got like a little vinyl toy that I got in one of my previous unboxings. My first unboxing with Don't Eat the Gum. Check it out here. But I love Garbage Pail Kids. I thought this was fun. It was a fun excuse to play with the tones of Turd palette. It was an excuse to play with those ridiculous glosses from Sexy Red. They're a very sort of sheer gloss. I didn't get a lot of color, but it looked beautiful with this Singe Beauty liner. I love the way the lip came out. I'm probably losing a little bit of it. I'll apply some more before I take pictures, and I'll insert some pictures into the video as well, because I know that the lighting is sometimes a little bit of a challenge in this current setup. But I will make sure that I include some pictures and you can see the full kind of range. But that is the video. Let me know down below what you thought of this Garbage Pail Kids. Was there anything that I missed? Was there a naughty or kind of raunchy or risque highlighter or blush that I should have brought in to use? Was there something that I missed out on? Let me know what you think down below. While you're leaving me that comment, don't forget that you can give me that thumbs up to tell me that you appreciated this video. Or if you are like, girl, you are a mess, what are you doing? Those Sexy Red glosses should never have seen the light of day. Go ahead and give me that thumbs down. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch. And neither am I. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, become part of the fam, and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I try really hard to make sure I have at least one video a week, and sometimes, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, Garbage Pail-tastic. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, The World of Champagne at JanessaJ.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Go check out the live stream. I will link it down below. Both of my live streams from today. I just finished the coloring one. I'm about to do the declutter, so we got to wrap this up so I can get back for that. But I'm having such a great Sunday while I'm filming this, and I hope you're having a lovely day as you watch this. And until I see you again, bye. Hello, Champagne Rainers. Welcome. And poop humor. Oh, is there? I am sorry if I seem like I'm rushing. I've got 2 live stream todays. Once we start adding in those shimmers and we really start blending and going back and forth, it's really going to come together. I'm going to now go into Runny Honey. Nope. My face is itching. I've got a shadow in my eyes. What's happening? But I have a trick that I've been using since the 90s. Oh, pretty girl. They're a little bit sheer. I didn't get a very green sort of look with the... If you'd like to chat, banter... Bye.
We could